Hey everyone, and welcome to the studio. Today what I'm going to be doing is teaching you how to use the grid method to draw a portrait sketch. So eventually I'm going to be doing some portrait painting lessons on my website and on YouTube. And a lot of times, the part that is really difficult is getting accurate proportions. So what I'm going to do is show you a nice way to get a good sketch, to get some accurate proportions. I'm going to start out with simple paper and simple pencils today. So we're going to progress through these lessons and get a little bit more difficult as we go. But first thing I'm going to do is show you the grid method. This method has been used for many years. Some suggest that some of the old masters used the grid method in certain ways in order to capture their subject in accurate proportions. So the first thing, a grid is basically just sectioning off the paper into squares and then taking a photo, putting a grid on the photo, and then translating that onto the paper. So first thing first, we're going to use I'm using an HB pencil, so it's a harder lead, so that's going to have lighter lines. I don't want the grid to have super dark lines. So I'm just going to take my ruler here, and hopefully my head doesn't get in the way. But this paper is just regular computer or copier paper, which is 8.5 by 11. So kind of a weird size. But what I like to do is do a grid of 1 inch by 1 inch. So that means the last section over here is going to be just a 1/2 inch square. And that's okay. As long as your picture matches your grid, that's all that matters. So first thing first, I want to go. I'm doing it up at the top of the paper. I'm going to come down now. Do the same thing. I'm lining it up on the 2 and the 10.5. And I'm going to go every inch. Just marking lightly on that inch mark. Make sure your mark is lined right up with that line. Okay, and then what we can do is line up those lines. And as I mentioned here, my ruler's a little long for this exercise, just because my table here isn't very cooperative. So I'm going to line up the lines, those marks there, and very lightly draw a line down. So you can see a very light mark for the line. You want to make sure you're lining those marks up very evenly. Again, light pressure on the brush. I always want to say brush. Light pressure on the pencil. I'm so used to doing painting lessons and not drawing lessons. I'll probably call the pencil a brush multiple times, and I probably won't catch myself or correct myself. So if I say that, just bear with me. If I say brush, I mean pencil. So we're going to go through here a little bit quicker. You just want to make sure that each time you're lined right up on those marks, because we want our grid to be accurate. If your grid's not accurate, then your drawing won't be accurate either. So make sure that each one of those these lines is right on the mark. Alright, so you can see I've got all my vertical lines. So now what I want to do is do the horizontal lines. Okay, so I've got every inch marked down, all the way down to the 11-inch mark. And then I'll go over to this side. Again, I'm being very picky about getting that line lined right up and marking my inch marks as accurately as possible. This is almost harder than doing the drawing itself sometimes, just because you have to get these so accurate. Okay, and now, again, apologize if my head gets in the way when I do these top parts. I just want to make sure I get it very accurate. So I'm going to each mark, doing horizontal lines now. I want to make sure everyone is right on that line. And not too much pressure on the pencil. I wanted to call it a brush again, but in my head, I kept saying brush in my head, and I knew that wasn't right. So, not too much pressure on the pencil. So when you're setting up grids, you know, you can make them as big as you want. You could have made this 2 inches, could have made it 3 inches. The important thing is that your grid matches the same grid that you have on your photo. And for this lesson, I'm providing a photo that's already gridded out, but I'm going to do a video on how you can use Photoshop to make your own grid. Very easy. I'll show you that here soon. So first thing you can do when you are finished your grid, you just want to count your squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if I look at my reference photo here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's right. I'll just count these down just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. All right, so my grid is accurate. I've got nice 1-inch squares. You can see very evenly, even squares, that there's no square that looks a little bit bigger than the other. So just, you know, take a general look at your grid and make sure that it's accurate. So what I like to do is when I have my reference up here, I've got 2 reference photos up on my screen, and I know you can't see that right now, but I have one with a grid and one without a grid. So sometimes the lines will overlap certain areas that, you know, kind of like the end of her nose, for example. On this gridded picture, the line goes right at the end of her nose, which is good in a way because you know that the end of the nose ends right on the line. It's bad in a way because you can't see the end of the nose, and it kind of makes the end of her nose look flat when it's actually rounded. So that's why I have a non-gridded photo up as well. So the first thing I want to do is kind of find a starting point. So what I'm going to do is start with the hair. There is, if you go 1, 2, 3 squares and then down, this is where the head ends up, and it comes right across that top line. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to initially, I'm going to zoom right in, and the top of the head, and you can switch now if you want a different pencil, if you want a little bit darker line. I'm going to go to a B pencil. Alright, I'm going to go to a B pencil. And a couple things I notice here is that the head comes down this way. It comes up just above the line, and this is the hair. Comes up just above this line here and travels almost right to this corner here. And then if you look at this, what I like to do is look at the negative space and look where the line crosses. So each square I'm looking at, and what I do is I looked at the empty space and I look at that shape, and I can easily make that shape. Okay, so I'm just copying what I see in each box. Again, looking at this shape, and I always look at where the line starts. So what I mean is where the hair comes across and crosses this line right here, I want to look at it and make sure it's starting in the right spot. I also look at where it ends. So it ends right about here. Then I just draw what I see. Okay, so I'm trying to copy this negative space here. Not so much looking at the positive space, because sometimes there's too much detail. If you look at the negative space, sometimes it's a little bit easier to see what you're looking at. So this line comes out to about here, the hair, and it crosses right about there. And then it crosses again right around here. So with that in mind, kind of has a little curve to it there. And eventually what I'll do is I'll go over the whole drawing and kind of curves in a little bit. Curves in, then back out. Okay, and then this travels down, it widens out a little bit. So it should cross right about here. And then this is the box with her nose. So I'm going to just come down and stop right there. Alright, so what I'm going to do is work the other way now. So I'm just going to draw this. Look where it crosses. It crosses right about here. And there's just a little triangle, like right there. So, just a nice curved line all the way down. Alright, so we've got the top of her head. What I want to do now is start looking for things within the face. So, I'll probably start here on the forehead, and I'm going to start right here. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes down. So you can look at your reference photo if you need to. 1, 2, 3, 4, and see where you're starting there. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so the forehead, and this is what I like to do, is I like to look at the halfway point and see which side the line is on. So if this is the halfway point of the box, the forehead's actually up here a little bit and starts to curve up. So now we're getting a little more detail oriented. And you don't have to be super hard with your lines. You can do very light lines to start with. Okay, so that comes up here. And the hair kind of has a little curl to it. Okay, so do a really light line there. If you look at the hair line itself, it kind of comes down. You know, it's thin right here. There's a part in her hair, but it comes down. If you follow this line, just crosses a little bit right here. That's why I'm drawing very thin lines. So there's a little triangle created by the box. And the hair comes down and it crosses, you know, relatively close to the bottom, so it's below the halfway point of that box. Then there's some hair out here. Crosses about the halfway point here. It comes up, and then the ear starts right about here. So the ear has hair coming over it, and I'm going to look at the box here, and I'm looking at the hairline, and it comes down, it makes a little triangle right there. So I'm going to bring that down. And it kind of curls up. Okay, and if you look at how the hair comes here, there's a part that's waving this way, but then there's another layer of hair that drops straight down, comes right through here. And then it almost has a little curl to it right here. Okay, and we'll draw all those little details a little bit later. What I want to do now is look at the ear. So the ear comes up just below the halfway point of the box, just below it. It has a nice curve. And if you look again at the halfway point here, the ear is very close to the halfway point. So I'm going to curve the ear up and bring it down to just about the halfway point. And then we've got this, the top part of the ear kind of comes down and curls right here. And there's another piece that comes out from here. And again, always looking at where it crosses the line, how much it crosses, and then where it comes back across. Okay, so the bottom of the ear here crosses right just barely past this crisscross mark. So if you think of an XY axis right here, it goes just below the crossing point, comes up, then comes down just ever so slightly, and then there's an earring. So hard to draw perfect circles, I know, but so we got a little circle there, and the earlobe comes down right about there. So I want to finish off the ear shape. Okay, and there's lots of little shadows and things in these areas. What I'm going to do is just a little cross hatching to darken the shadow area a little bit. Okay, we'll do maybe a little bit more detail on that later. little highlight on the pearl earring. All right, we'll call that good for now. So we might make a few adjustments here. You look at it here. Apologize for the vibrating phone. All right, just going to darken that up just a little bit. All right, so I'm happy with the ear. That's a good starting point. What I want to do now is go back over to the other side of the face. Just darken up these lines a little bit here. All right, so looking at the face here, I want to start bringing the brow bone out. So it's got a little curve and it comes just about to the halfway point of, this is where all the important stuff is. So this is where we're going to take the most time. So her nose, that's just about halfway, starting right here. It has a curve this way. And I'm looking at negative space now. So I'm looking at the space over here because it creates a unique shape. And this is where her nose hits that line, but it should be curved. And then a little curve on the bottom. And if you look at the indentation here from the brow down to where the base of the nose is, it lines up. So this part should come in to about that point. And we can always make some adjustments. So what we're trying to do is just get a basic sketch here to start with. Then the lips curl. It's almost like an S shape. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more because her lips blend in quite a bit with the background. So on quick view here, I can see I've made a little bit of a mistake, especially after I zoomed in. So I'm going to erase that line a little bit. I want to kind of leave, this is a little trick that I like to use. I like to leave that line a little bit so I can see the corrected line. I just want to bring this further. All right, so now I'm looking again at this negative space over here. Her chin crosses right about here. Then got a little triangle shape right here. Then the chin line comes up. Kind of turns out a little bit right here. Okay, and then we have the neck. Coming down just before halfway in the box. I'm going to zoom back out now so I can see a little bit better. Then her jacket comes up here. Crosses down. Okay, and then this stuff's less important information, but her hood. And there's a collar to her jacket, kind of comes out here and curls down. Again, less important information, so you can be a little bit quicker with that. Then we've got a zipper that kind of zigzags. Okay, and then we have her hair on the other side, kind of coming down, and it's very hard to see where it's hair and where it's jacket, but there's this dark area right here. And looks like the jacket right here comes down, meets up with this, and then trails off to the bottom. All right, so now we'll take a look at the eye. We have a little we have the eyebrow here. Then we have, you can kind of see the eyelid. And I may have to, I'll just bring that line down for now. Also bring this line down, and there's a little bump on her nose. Kind of a unique feature. You want to make sure you get that. So the bump kind of comes through and intercepts the hair right here, and then it curves. So just want to try to get that as accurate as possible. Draw in the nostril. Just kind of a curved shape here. play around with that a little bit as we go, but the outside of the nose comes right about here. So I may have made that nostril a little out of place, so I'm going to erase that. We have kind of, I don't know what this is called here, but this top curve of the outside of the nose is just above that line, this box line, and it kind of comes down. Mouth comes down. Just crosses right here. This top lip's darker. You've kind of got this little V shape right here where it connects up to the lip, the bottom lip. Okay, I want to just curve the chin a little bit more. It's a little too square looking. So bring this down. So you can see once you have the overall shape start to come in, you can start to make adjustments to make the face more accurate. All right, so let's go to the eye. So the eye crosses right here where these boxes are. And I'm going to draw in kind of just this rough shape to start with. Lots of eyelashes here. They're coming out to about here. They kind of come up at an angle, and you got this thick line for, you know, the initial part of the eye. Comes down. Kind of curls. So the top part of the eyelid curls, and then it kind of touches this line. The front of the eye itself goes right along this line. So I'm just going to do a little curved line right there. The eyebrow curls pupils right around here. It crosses this line below the halfway point. At least the bottom part of the eyebrow does. We've got the iris. And the pupil is all within this box here. Just extend the eyebrow a little bit further. So I'm just going to throw in some eyelashes right here, just because you can't really see it very well on the reference photo, but you know they're there. So there's a little crease right here under the eye, and another little one. And sometimes you need to put those things in because that's what gives the face character. This little curve up on the mouth, important. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at my non-gridded photo. All right, so I have my non-gridded photo up and I can see a few little things I want to adjust, starting with the nose. So I'm just going to erase lightly this line here because I want to be able to still see it. Just want to have a little bit more of a curve to the front here. Maybe a little less of a bump. There, that's much better. So you can see just a small adjustment can make a big difference. Also, I kind of want to put in this shadow because that really defines how her nose looks. So right along here, it's a shadow. And now, what I want to do, I'm just going to define this line a little bit better here. The bottom part of her nose, right here, needs a little adjustment. So it's a little bit kind of an angle right here. And straight back. And then nice angle right here as well. And this, there is another piece right there, but it's in shadow. So I'm just going to darken that. Just going to darken the nostril a little bit. And there's some shadow under the nose. Okay, so I'm just going to darken these lines now. Especially the most important ones, which, you know, you really want the eye. This is a definite dark line, so darken that up a little bit. Same with the eyebrow. We have hairs that go this way first, and then they curve. Get a nice little curve there. I like how her jawline comes up, curves a little bit, and comes up. So all I'm going to do now is just define the lines a little bit better. Because eventually what I would do is transfer my drawing a little bit. Another thing we could put in is the part in the hair, which comes up. Like so. And there's lots of little hairs and things in through here. It's not an exact open spot, but so, you know, since we're doing a painting, you know, we don't have to worry so much about some of that stuff. But you can put in a few little details just to kind of tidy things up. We'll define the ear a little bit better now. Alright, now I want to kind of look at, I really haven't finished off the hair here, so there's a little part of the neck showing right here, and then the hair comes down. I have to zoom in here to see. comes down. And goes off right through here. Okay, so this hair comes down. There's lots of little pieces, so there's another piece right here. Comes off like that. A little curled piece that's kind of tucked. Kind of comes in behind the ear, right here. And if you want, you can go through and add in, you know, more details if you'd like. So there's this part that comes right here, and then there's another few pieces. Alright, so we've got the nice part there. Again, just kind of crisscross around a little bit. It's kind of a non-formed area there. Have that kind of tuck in back there, and then and we got this part here, very dark. So I do want to just darken that with some, you know, some basic shading or cross hatching. Got a little shadow under the chin here. You can do a little shading if you'd like. All depends on how much, you know, how much detail you really want to put in. Okay, just going to look at a few final areas here. Make any adjustments that are needed. For the most part though, I think that's quite accurate. Very good information to work with when doing a painting. I'll just darken this here. Alright, so that's how you use the grid method to basically set up a sketch for your painting. So this is, you know, if you're having a hard time drawing, if you have experience with drawing, the grid method will be easier, just because, you know, you'll be able to see accurate relationships and proportions and things like that. But this is a great way to get an accurate drawing, and you don't have to go as quickly as I did. I didn't really go that fast, but Sometimes the better you get at this, it's harder for me to explain and draw at the same time because I'm concentrating, but the better you get at this, the faster you'll be able to go. And you can actually grid right onto the canvas. So you don't always have to use paper. Sometimes what I like to do is use paper to create a sketch and then transfer that sketch onto the canvas. Makes it a little bit easier. So you can scan it and then transfer it, and then you're still working with your own drawing. So the great thing about the grid method too is that it gives you some practice with drawing. If you don't draw very often, you're not going to get very good at it because you don't practice enough. So using the grid method actually allows you to practice drawing and get good results. So the more you do this, the more you'll start to pick up on different relationships and how things line up. But the grid allows you to see where everything lines up. The better you get at drawing, you almost get to the point where you're just visualizing a grid on your drawing and going from there. So that's the great thing about this, is the more you do it, the better you'll get at drawing, and plus you're kind of killing two birds, one stone. You're also getting an accurate sketch that you can work with for your painting. So this is where you start when it comes to portrait painting. You want to be able to get a good accurate drawing and then be able to either transfer that drawing or replicate it onto the canvas. So that's it for today. Again, I'll provide the images here on my website, so just go to the link. If you're watching this on YouTube, go to the link below in the description and you can find the reference images and the gridded images on my website so you can follow along. I will be taking this drawing and turning it into a painting eventually, so stay tuned for that. And if you have any questions, make sure you comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this intro to portrait painting. This is where we're starting. We're going to build on this as we go, get a little bit more complicated as we go as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. See you again soon.